He didn't even call. After years of deployments, surgeries, and watching brothers in arms lowered into the ground, all I got from my father was a single text on my phone. "Don't bother coming this Christmas. We decided it's best you stay away this year. No, how are you? No, we miss you." Just a cold sentence that read like a severance notice from the people who were supposed to love me without conditions. My name is Rachel Monroe, and wherever you are, stay with me. Have you ever walked through hell only to come home and find the door locked? The military taught me to shut down my emotions, but that message landed harder than any mortar blast. Mom stayed silent. My brother stayed silent. It felt like they'd all signed an unspoken contract to exile me right before the holidays. I sat alone in my one-bedroom apartment in Faggville, Christmas lights blinking in the window, wondering what crime I'd committed to earn this kind of cold. I typed a single word back: fine. Not the kind of fine that begs for someone to ask again. This was the final fine, the kind that says you'll never get another shot at hurting me. I canceled my ticket, closed my laptop, poured a glass of red, and raised it to the empty air. To family. 5 days later, my phone lit up, 10 missed calls: Dad, Mom, my brother, even their lawyer. That last one made my chest tighten, because by then, it was already too late. Too late to take back what I'd set in motion, too late to unsay what they'd said, too late to unwrite the letter I'd mailed. They thought I'd come back like always, loyal, forgiving, hungry for scraps of affection, but this time, I wasn't the same daughter who'd left. I came home wearing a different kind of armor, and they were about to learn how dangerous a daughter can be when she finally stops chasing her father's love. Let's rewind. Before the silence, before the text, before the final betrayal. I was 18 when I enlisted. At graduation, my father didn't hug me, just muttered, "Try not to embarrass yourself out there." His version of love was criticism in disguise. I didn't join to make him proud, I joined to prove I was worth something, because home had never been safe, not with the way he looked at me like I was a bill he never agreed to pay. When I made sergeant, I flew home for Christmas hoping for some recognition. Instead, before I could take my boots off, he told me to shovel the driveway. Mom, always wringing her hands, whispering, "Just don't make him angry." My brother Tyler? A perfect shadow, loyal to Dad, because siding with him meant peace. So I played the good soldier. I called on birthdays, sent flowers on anniversaries, mailed checks when their roof leaked or their car broke. They never asked what it cost me. They just cashed them and sent back an emoji, sometimes not even that. Every year, I hoped for a Christmas where my seat at the table felt wanted, not obligatory. This year was supposed to be different. I was finally out of service, discharge papers in hand, a modest pension, a tired heart. I wanted to bake cookies with Mom, hear Tyler's work stories, maybe get a rare nod of approval from Dad. Instead, I got that text. And that's when I remembered. 5 years ago, during leave, Dad asked me to co-sign something, a second mortgage. He called it just a technicality. I was 25, worn out, desperate for his approval. I signed without reading. Big mistake, for them. Because that document gave me 51% ownership of their house. They didn't know it. I'd forgotten it myself until, after the text, I started digging through old emails just to distract myself, and there it was, signed, witnessed, legal. Buried in the fine print. In the event of primary borrower default or voluntary transfer, the cosigner assumes controlling interest over the property until loan maturity. Controlling interest. The house he bragged about, the house he told me I wasn't welcome in. On paper, I wasn't just welcome there, I owned the majority of it. I called a real estate lawyer I knew from a Tampa seminar. Hypothetically, I asked, what happens if a cosigner with majority interest is told not to come home? He chuckled. Hypothetically, she could take control of the property. So I wrote a letter. No drama, no venom, just the facts. Effective immediately. I sent the letter certified, short, cold, and deliberate. I will be exercising my controlling interest as cosigner and legal partial owner of the property at 12 Windmere Lane. All legal rights and responsibilities will be enacted through counsel. You will be contacted shortly. I pictured them opening it together, faces falling, and I didn't smile out of spite, just out of satisfaction. It was the first time I'd ever dictated the terms. Then I booked a secluded cabin in the Smoky Mountains, snow drifting past the window, fire snapping in the hearth, phone turned off. 5 days later, I powered it on. 10 missed calls, Mom, Dad, Tyler, and one from a lawyer. That last one told me everything I needed to know. They were scared. Tyler called first. Rach, what the hell is this? Dad's losing it, talking lawyers and eviction notices. What are you doing? I stared out at the white hills, coffee warm in my hands. I'm executing my rights, I said evenly, just like Dad executed his right to tell me I wasn't welcome. You're kicking them out? Over one stupid text? No, Tyler, not yet. I let the silence stretch until he shifted. Come on, you know how Dad is. Yes, I said, that's exactly why I'm doing this, because people like him count on you never fighting back. I'm done needing crumbs. The lawyer, Harold Wells, called next. He tried to sound professional, but his voice shook. Miss Monroe, I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. The documents are valid. My lawyers reviewed them, and I'm invoking control. A pause, perhaps a buyout, a reassignment, and that's when it hit me. Dad had defaulted again. They weren't worried about my letter. They were worried about losing the house. I'm open to discussion, I told him, but the first condition is that Dad calls me himself. Not you, not Tyler, him. That was the point. This wasn't about bricks and lumber, it was about acknowledgement. Christmas morning, Mom finally called. Rachel, please, don't do this. Your father hasn't slept. Tyler's upset. Can't we move past it? Move past it? I almost laughed. Do you remember what he texted me? Silence. I've been deployed for nearly a decade, sent money from war zones, never missed a birthday, and the one year I come home, he tells me to stay away. That's not a family. Mom, that's a landlord without a lease. She cried, begged me to stop, but I'd already filed the possession change. That afternoon, my veteran friend's property management company visited for an inspection. By 4 p.m., he called me. Cosmetically, fine. Structurally, basement leaks, attic unfinished, mold spots. But here's the kicker, 2 bedrooms are rented out. College kids, cash only, no leases. They had turned my property into their side hustle, while telling me I didn't belong in it. That night, I sent letter number 2. Effective January 2nd, you are given formal 30-day notice of management transition and possible termination of residency. Sublease agreements are illegal. Rent collection is suspended. This property is under investigation for code violations. All communication will go through counsel. This wasn't revenge. This was reclaiming what was already mine. And this year, Christmas didn't belong to them. It belonged to me. I signed my full name and rank at the bottom. Neat and deliberate. Rachel Monroe, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army, Ret. Legal co-owner, 12, Windmere Lane. I emailed the document to Harold, their lawyer. Then I texted Tyler 3 words. Check your mailbox. The call started within the hour. Dad, Mom, Tyler, even Harold again. I didn't listen to a single one. There's a moment every soldier knows, that first breath when your boot hits safe soil and you realize you survived. That's what I felt now. They could rage, beg, or cry. I had already survived them. And now they were living in my house, under my rules. January 2nd. Snow fell in thick, wet flakes as I stepped out of the truck in front of 12, Windmere Lane. 3 cars in the driveway, 2 I didn't recognize. I hadn't come alone. My property manager flanked me, a locksmith behind him, clipboard in my hand. I wore a dark coat, polished boots, and my dog tags, not for intimidation, just to remind them exactly who they were dealing with. Dad opened the door, flushed and sweating despite the cold. What the hell is this circus? I brushed past him. My house, my terms. Mom stood at the stairs, clutching a rosary. Tyler slouched on the couch, looking like a man already defeated. This, I said, is a legal transition of ownership and management. You have 30 days to either formalize your tenancy under my contract or relocate. Dad exploded. Relocate? You can't do this, this is our home. No, I said evenly, it's my investment. I built this place, and you defaulted on it. I cut in. Then you signed it over to a 24-year-old in uniform because you couldn't face the bank. That shut him down. I laid it out. The illegal tenants had 10 days to vacate. Any interference would lead to criminal charges. Mom's lips trembled. But where will we go? I held her gaze. I don't know, Mom. Maybe, not home for Christmas. The locksmith changed the code as I walked out. Snow crunched under my boots, the air clean and sharp. I didn't feel like a daughter anymore. I felt like someone who came back stronger than they ever imagined, and they could call it cold. I called it survival. January 31st. The deadline passed without a fight. No last minute pleas, no grand scenes, just silence. When I unlocked the door the next morning, the house was empty. In Tyler's old room, a duffel tag from a ski trip I was never invited to. In the living room, a deep scratch in the floor where the coffee table used to sit, the one I'd bought at 19 with my first deployment check. I didn't cry, I just stood there, recognizing how damage can cut deep without anyone noticing the bleed. I opened the back door, let the winter wind rush in, and felt the sunlight hit my face. This wasn't revenge, it was restoration. Of boundaries, of dignity, of my name. I turned the property into transitional housing for female veterans, women who knew what it was to return home and be shut out. We called it the Monroe House. When reporters came calling after a local piece ran about a veteran reclaiming her home, I didn't give them the whole story, because this wasn't about humiliating my family, it was about healing me. Was it worth it? More than they'll ever understand. Now, every Christmas, I light a candle on the porch, not for them, for the girl who once stood outside this house in the snow, unwanted. She found her way back, and she made sure no woman like her would ever stand alone again.